Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद ओम ज्ञानतिमृन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 1 चैप्टर 7 श्लोक 48 यैकोपितं ब्रह्मकूलम्
यैकोपितं ब्रह्मकुलं
राजन्यैरजितात्मभिः
राजन्यैरचितात्मभिः
तत्कूलं प्रदहति आशु
तत्कुलं प्रदहति आशु
सानुबन्धं सुचार्पितम्
शानुबन्धं सुचार्पितम्.
Volunteers would like to do the translation in purport.
I can read. Translation. If the kingly administrative order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmana order and enrages them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all. Purport. The Brahmana order of society, or the spiritually advanced caste or community, and the members of such highly elevated families were always held in great esteem by the other subordinate castes, namely the administrative kingly order, the mercantile order, and the laborers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is Mother Draupadi. She is speaking, right? She's speaking to Arjuna, I believe, in the section where Arjuna already captured Ashwathama and brought in front of Draupadi, and he is thinking of giving a good punishment, maybe even killing Ashwathama, and Draupadi is mentioning reasons why he should not be killed. And she's saying that kingly administrative order being unrestricted in sense control, if they offend the Brahman, if the kings they start offending the Brahman, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body and the royal family and brings grief upon all of them. So it will be very, very bad consequences will come if you offend the Brahmans. And then Prabhupada is mentioning how the Brahmans are to be very much respected. They are spiritually elevated, and the other subordinate classes, they actually have to serve, right? So this is and serve and respect the Brahmanas and get spiritual guidance. So anybody would like to add anything to this? Otherwise, we'll keep moving forward. Okay, anybody would like to read this one? 1749. Sanskrit.
I can read.
Nitya, I will read it.
Sutta Uvacha
Suta Vacha
Dharmyam Nyayam Sakurunam
Dharmyam Nyayam Sakurunam
Nirvyalikam Samam Mahat
Nirvyalikam Samam Mahat
Raja Dharma Suto Rajnya
Raja Dharma Suto Rajna
Pratyanandadvacho Dvijaha.
Pratyanandadvachodvija. Anyone would like to volunteer to read translation and purport?
I
Okay,
can
I'll read
read.
it. Yeah, go ahead.
Translation. Sut Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthir fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Okay.
Maharaj Yudhishthir, do you want to read? You bring this. Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamraj, fully supported the words of Queen Draupadi in asking Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. One should not tolerate the humiliation of a member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because of Arjuna's learning the military science from him. If ingratitude were shown to such a benevolent family, it would not at all be justified from the moral standpoint. The wife of Dronacharya, who was the half body of the great soul, must be treated with compassion, and she should not be put into grief because of her son's death. That is compassion. Such statements by Draupadi are without duplicity because actions should be taken with full knowledge. The feeling of equality was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience. A barren woman cannot understand the grief of a mother. Draupadi was herself a mother, and therefore her calculation of the depth of Kripi's grief was quite to the point. And it was glorious because she wanted to show proper respect to a great family. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So anybody would like to share some points from this?
Here, Sut Goswami is speaking about the compassion of, and he's glorifying Mother Draupadi for the compassion that she was feeling for Kripi out of her respect for the family and of Dronacharya, because he was, teacher for the Pandavas. So that is what Sut Goswami is glorifying Mother Draupadi for this.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So Yudhishthir Maharaj has also agreed and supported the statements, and Prabhupada in the purport is mentioning how Draupadi is telling from her personal experience. And we can see how, in spite of having gone through such a tragic, painful experience, she is such a great personality that she's saying to forgive Ashwatthama. That's like a very, very advanced person. 5 sons have been killed, and now she's telling and giving so many arguments, substantiating. So that is worth noticing. And as we go forward, we'll see who all are going to support Draupadi and who will say something different. Can anybody else share screen?
I can share, Prabhuji.
Okay, Madhu. If you can share, that'll be nice. So we'll do 1750. In the meantime, whenever you're ready, just let us know. Anybody would like to read the Sanskrit here?
I can read if nobody is reading, or if they're volunteers, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Right. So Natasha Mataji and Anand Kishori, can you please coordinate the conference?
Okay, I can read this one, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Nakula Sahadevascha
Nakula Sahadevascha
Yuyudhano Dhananjaya
Yuyudhano Dhananjaya
Bhagavan Devaki Putro
Bhagavan Devaki Putro
Ye Chane Yaksha Yoshita
Ye Chanyasya Yoshitah.
Translation. Nakula and Sahadev, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and others all unanimously agreed with the king. Okay, so these are all that are with Yudhishthira Maharaj. Nakul, Sahadev, Satyaki, Arjun, Lord Krishna, and the ladies. They all agreed with Yudhishthira Maharaj. Okay.
I have a question. Who is Satyaki?
Mataji, Satyaki was the, if I'm correct, the brother of Madri. Is that right? So, Mama of Nakul and Sahadev.
Okay.
Is that right? Can somebody?
Mataji, I remember the name as Shailya as the
Oh,
mama.
that's Shailya. Okay, yes. So, who was Satyaki then?
Mataji, I actually don't know.
Okay.
I think Satyaki was a Yadav king.
One of the Yadavas. Yes, you're right. Okay, yes. So he was one of the Vrishnis, one of the Yadavas. Okay. Shall we keep moving? Can someone read this one?
I can read. Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit, who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master's interest. So basically, Bhima did not support Draupadi.
Mataji, you want to recite too?
Oh, did we not recite this yet? Sorry,
Not yet.
I didn't pay attention. Okay. Tatraham marshito bhimas
Tatrahamarshito Bhimas
tasya shreyan vada smritah
Tasya Shreyan Vada Smritah
na bhartur natmanascharthe
Nabhartunat Nasart
yohan suptan shishun vritha.
Yohan Suptan Shishun Vritha. Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory that Bhima was in favor of killing Ashwathama. He was very angry. Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, can somebody read this one? Recite and read.
I can try. I don't know how good I am, but
Yes, Mataji, please.
Nishmya Bhima Paditam
Nishamya
Nishamya Bhima
Gaditam
Gaditam
Draupadyascha Chatupurjagaha
Draupadyascha
Draupadiascha
Chaturbuja
Chaturbuja
Alokya Vadanam Sa Sukha Rida
Alokavadinam
Alokavadanam
Sakyam
Sakyur
Mahahasni Niva Hasniva
Idam
Idam
aha
aha
Ahahashiva
hasashiva.
Hare Krishna. I can read the translation. Chatur Puja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the word of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of the dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. So, okay. So who is this Chaturvata he is talking about? Oh, the Krishna, right? Yeah, okay. Purport. The Lord Shri Krishna had two arms, and why he is designed as a four-arm is explained by the Sridhara Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi had opposite view about killing Ashwasthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas the Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. In order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. Originally, the primordial Lord Sri Krishna displayed only two arms, but in the Narayana feature, he exhibits four. In this feature, in Narayana feature, he resided with his devotee in the Vaikuntha planet, while in the original Sri Krishna feature, he resided in the Krishna Loka planet, far above the Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual sky. Therefore, Sri Krishna is called Chaturbuja. There is no contradiction. If need, he can display the 100 of the arm as he exhibited in his Vishwarupa shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display 100 and thousands of arms can also manifest the form arm ever. And when Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with the Ashwasthama, Lord Sri Krishna, a very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make solution, and he was smiling along also. So here it just is, now the Bhima is against, and that time against Draupadi and other. So then Krishna, the Godhead, was smiling by hearing the word of Bhima, and he is called the Chaturbuja. Puja in most of the roop, most of the time we have seen him with two arms, but in this he has originally he has two arms, but in the Narayana feature he exhibits four, and in this Narayana feature he resides with his devotee in the Vaikuntha planet, while in original Sri Krishna form he is in the Krishna Loka planet. Far. So the Vaikuntha planet is spiritual. So the Vaikuntha planet is higher than the regular planet. I don't know. So there are two planets, Vaikuntha planet and Krishna Loka planet, right? So the Krishna Loka planet is above the Vaikuntha planet, right? So therefore now he called the Chaturbuja, and Krishna can also produce the hundreds and hundred of the arm. And when he did the Vishwaroop in front of Arjuna, he was with the hundreds of arm and thousands of arm. So he can, whatever he needs, he can produce it. When the Arjuna So Arjun, so that time he was smiling because, he saw that, the Arjuna was also kind of confused and what to do with Aswasthama. So he was trying to find the solution. So that's why Krishna was smiling. I don't know, somebody can make it more clear. I'm sorry. This is what I understood. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, this is what I understood too. I think you explained very well. Would anyone else like to add anything? So basically, Krishna is displaying his Chaturbhuj Narayan form and is smiling right now. He's seeing that everybody is confused. Bhima is on one side, Draupadi and others are on another side. So he's displaying his Chaturbhuj form, smiling. And Prabhupada is saying in the purport that Vishwarupa is the form that he exhibited to Arjun, the universal form, where he exhibited thousands of arms, hundreds and thousands of arms. And this is his four-armed form, which is Narayana feature in the Vaikuntha planets, as Lord of the Vaikuntha. And in Krishna Loka, which is Golok Vrindavan, he resides, he is in his original two-armed form. So I really don't have anything else. I think Mataji explained. Anyone else wants to share anything, add or correct anything? Okay, would someone like to read this one? Just two shlokas together.
I can read this one.
Yes, Mataji.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Brahma Bandhurna Hantavya
Brahma Bandhurna Hantavya
Atatayi Vadharhanaha
Atatayi Vadharanam
Mayaivo Bhayam Amnatam Paripayanushashanam
Paripayanushashanam
Kuru Pratishrutam Satyam
Kuru Pratishrutam Satyam
Yattat Santavyata Priyam
Yattat Santavyata Priyam
Priyam Cha Bhimasenasya
Priyam Cha Bhimasenasya
Panchalya Mayameva Cha
Panchalyameva cha. Are you reading, Mataji, or someone else would like to read?
Any volunteers to read translation and purport? If not, I can read.
I can read this one. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Yes,
Nida
please.
Mataji.
The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahman is not to be killed. A friend of a Brahman is not to be killed. But if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures. and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasen and me. But Arjun was perplexed because Ashwatthama was to be killed as well as spared according to different scriptures cited by different people. As a Brahman Bandhu or a worthless son of a Brahmin, Ashwatthama was not to be killed, but he was at the same time an aggressor also. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he is a Brahman, and what to speak of an unworthy son of a Brahmin, is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmin in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Ashwatthama was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when he is without weapon or chariot, cannot be killed. All these were certainly perplexities. Besides that, Arjun had to keep the promise he had made before Draupadi just to pacify her. And he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna, who advised killing him. This dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the solution was awarded by Krishna. Here, like in so many times in Mahabharata and in Bhagavad Gita also, we see that Arjun is standing at a crossroads. At first, he did not want to fight, but then Sri Krishna instructed him in his duty and dharma, and he again had to fight. Then he did not want to kill Dronacharya, but again he had to do it. He was hesitant to fight with Bhishma Pitama. He had to do it. He was hesitant in so many places, like when Karna, the wheel of his chariot was broken. He did not want to fight at that time because a person without a chariot should not be killed. But then again, Sri Krishna advised him to kill him because Sri Krishna knew that this cannot be done unless and until he kills him at that time. Karna was so powerful and had so many gifts. So again, Arjun is hesitant because he believes in dharma. And here, he is advised on different aspects of his dharma. Different aspects of scriptures state different things. Because Ashwatthama, being an aggressor who killed his Draupadi's sons while they were sleeping at night time in their tents, he was to be punished. He deserved punishment. He deserved to be killed. But then, on the other hand, being a Brahmin, being Dronacharya's son, being the only son of Dronacharya, and as Draupadi advised him that he should be spared. Although Draupadi was the one to whom Arjun had promised that he will kill the person who had killed her sons. Lord Yudhishthir and his younger brothers Nakul and Sahadev were also against killing and punishing Ashwatthama, whereas Bhim and Sri Krishna were in favor of it. So he doesn't know what to do and to whose advice to follow. And let us see what is to be done after this, what happens. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Mom. Any other additions or realizations? Okay, we'll keep moving, see what Krishna will say. Okay, anyone wants to read this one? Okay, I can read this. Sutta Uvacha
Sutta Uvacha
Arjuna Sahasagyaya
Arjuna
Arjuna
Sahasagyaya
Sahasajnaya
Harer Hardam Athasina
Hare
Hare
Hardam
Krishna.
Pathasina
Asina
Manim Jahar Murdhanyam
Mani
Manjar Mudhanyam
Dvijasya Samurdajam.
Vijasya Sahamurdajam.
Translation. Sutta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwathama. Purport: contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwathama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here, Ashwathama is indicated as twice born. Certainly, he was twice born, but he fell down from his position, and therefore he was properly punished. Okay, so here Sud Goswami is telling the saints how so Arjuna was in a dilemma on what to do. Different people are instructing him different things. Krishna and Bhima are on one side and everybody else on other side. So he had to somehow satisfy everybody and follow the principles of religion. Has to be in such a way that he does not get killed, so that sorry, my internet is a little unstable. Okay, so basically he wanted to spare his life and yet punish him adequately. So he took his sword and pulled the jewel, the money from Ashwathama's head and the hair. And for a Brahmana, having their hair cut off and the jewel, the money that had been given to Ashwathama, having that taken off was almost as good as cutting his head off. So in this way, his life was spared, and Arjuna gave him the best punishment. And this is, Prabhupada is saying that this is by his sharp intelligence. So he understood that as per Krishna's orders, he has to give a severe punishment and has to spare the life somehow. So Krishna gives the intelligence, and he understood this. So
Why is Ashwatthama known as, sorry, I think you haven't finished.
no, that's all. I don't have anything more to add. Please go ahead.
Why was he known as twice born?
So twice born is just Dvij. Dvij means twice born, meaning a Brahmana. So one who is spiritually initiated. They are called twice born. So technically he was a Brahmana. He was twice born. He was a Dvija, right? But he's just not carrying himself like that. So he's lost that position. So just spiritual initiation is not enough if one does not carry themselves according to the religious principles. So like we discussed before. So Brahmanas are called Dvijas or twice born. Like Dvij, and friends of Brahmanas are called Dvij Bandhus. So he was actually a Brahmana, but he's just not behaving like a Brahmana. So,
I kind of have a comment or question. I thought that if they cut, that hair, the choti of Brahmana, then that insult is same as cutting his hair. But here they are just saying that he removed that money from the crown. So I don't know.
yes, Mataji, they severed his hair too. So his the choti, the shikha was cut off. So and that is as good as cutting his head, like you were saying. Prabhupada
Yeah,
is
but
also.
here it doesn't say they got shikha, right?
I think that is implied, Mataji. The typically the brahmanas only have shikha.
Okay. Because I think he took some money out of the crown or something. Jewel from the head.
The river was unawareable but was thought to be implement. He has failed his foundation with risk he would have been dread.
I think Prabhuji is on mute. Yes. Yes, Mataji. So Ashwathama had that gem on his forehead, that jewel on his head. And that was pulled away with the Arjun cut off that jewel with his sword. So that jewel was very precious to Ashwathama. And that was a great insult to him. And so was cutting off the shikha. If anybody, does anyone know the story of the money, the jewel on Ashwathama's forehead? Maybe mom or.
No, this is actually first time I heard about taking out jewel.
He had a lot of powers because of that money, and I am not very clear on the details of the money. So if somebody would like to talk about that, please. Mom, are you familiar? Can you talk about that?
Actually, I think that money would give him the power to be healed of all his injuries. But once the money was taken out, that wound would never heal. I think it was that.
So how did he get that money? How was that awarded to him, or was he born with it? How was it?
I have no idea. I think he was born with it, but I'm not sure. Sir.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, from what I remember, he was born with the jewel, and it's similar to what other devotees have shared. Gave him, gave him powers, and different. Yeah, I don't know why. I just know that he was born to Dronacharya and Kripi after a lot of penances that they performed, and hence he was born with this jewel on his forehead. It was there at birth. It was just present, and he had a lot of powers from that.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Okay, so let's read the next one. Okay, would someone like to read this one? Okay, I can read this. Vimuchya Rashana Baddham
Charachanabaddham
Bala Hatyahat Prabham Tejasa Maninahinam Shibiraninarayapayat.
Yapayat.
Translation: He, Ashwatthama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus, he was unbound and driven out of the camp. Purport: thus being insulted, the humiliated Ashwatthama was simultaneously killed and not killed by the intelligence of Lord Krishna and Arjuna. So we already discussed this. So translation is saying that he lost his bodily luster, the strength, because people that follow the religious principle, that have all those the features of a brahmana, like truth, austerity, samadama, control of mind, control of senses, control of anger, they're austere, they have such spiritual effulgence. So he lost that luster by being irreligious, by the great sin of killing children, so due to infanticide. And then also lost the jewel, and like Mom was sharing, the jewel was giving him a lot of powers and strength, and he could heal and was very strong because of that. So he lost that strength also. So in this way, he was killed and not killed simultaneously. So both parties that were on two different sides, both were satisfied by this punishment, and he was driven out of the camp. Is that okay? Would someone like to add or share anything? We'll read maybe one or two more if they're small. Let's see. Maybe. Could read this one. Can someone read this?
I can read this one.
Yes.
Vapanam dravinadanam
Vapanam
Vapanam
Dravinadanam
dravinadanam
sthaniyarpanam tatha
Shananiryapanam
Sthananiryapanam
tatha
Tatha
esha hi brahma bandhunam
Esha hi
Esha hi Brahma
Eshahi Brahma
Bandhunam
Bandhunam
vadho nanyau statidehikah.
Vato
Vadho
Vado
Nanyo
Nanyosti Daivika.
Sridehikaha.
Translation: cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relatives of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. Hare Krishna. So he got his just punishment. He was not killed. That would have been against the scriptures, but he got punished according to the scriptures, that he was deprived of his bodily luster, he was deprived of his hair and his money, and he was driven away from his residence. I think Ashwatthama had to roam the whole universe, and he's still roaming according to our scriptures.
Yes.
Yeah, now here it is mentioned about peeling the hair. I mean, cutting the hair.
Yes, Mataji. So, okay, I think the next one is the last shloka. We can finish off this chapter.
Sure.
Okay, would someone like to read this? Okay, I'll read this. Putra shokatura sarve
Putra
Putra
shoka
Shokatura Sarve
Pandava sah Krishnaya
pandava
Pandava Saha Krishnaya
Swanamrita nam yat krityam
pana
Swanamritanam Yatkityam
Chakrur nirharanadikam.
Chakrur Nirharanadikam.
Translation: Thereafter the sons of Pandu and Draupadi overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Son of Drona Punished. Very bold. Finished the 7th chapter.
Hari
So,
Bol.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Now
So
we have to right?
yes, Mataji, the next chapter will be prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit Maharaj saved. So that will be a glorious chapter to read. Many important shlokas in there, also to memorize, some that we recite also. So here they are just finishing off the chapter, saying that the sons of Pandavas and Draupadi, now that they had punished their culprit, they were now grieving for their loved ones that had passed and did perform their proper rituals. Okay.
I have a question here.
Yes.
Ashwatthama was the one who had killed all the Pandav sons,
Yes.
Draupadi's sons. But he had the help of Kripacharya and Kritvarma also at that time. I had read somewhere. And Drishtadrumna and Satyaki were also killed at that time by Kripacharya. So they all acted against the scriptures by killing people who were sleeping and by killing them while they were at night time. So why were they not punished?
Hare Krishna. From what I understood, that Drishtadumna was also killed by Ashwatthama, if I'm correct. He killed Drishtadumna first and then the sons of Draupadi. But I think we'll have to go into Mahabharata to see exactly. Kripacharya was at that time not the commander-in-chief. He disagreed with Ashwatthama's recommendation of killing. So the act of killing was performed by Ashwatthama. They had to follow him, I believe, because of him being the chief now. He was named by Duryodhan as the next to lead.
He was the commander at that time.
Yes, so Kripacharya was not in favor, but he had no choice but to follow. But the act of killing was actually by Ashwatthama himself. And I think we just read Satyaki was in the crowd here that were gathered. So I don't know if he was killed or not. So we'll have to go into Mahabharata to see exactly how the events unfolded. But Drishtadumna was, yes, definitely killed. But if anybody has more knowledge about this, please go ahead and share. If not, we'll clarify with Prabhu tomorrow, or we'll read into the Mahabharata and see. Shall we chant Hare Krishna 11 times?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Hare.
Okay, Hari Bol. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll conclude for today. Vancha